Tell us about Devil's Workshop, your character, and what drew you to this project.
Yeah, oh, it's a trippy little psychological thriller that for me felt like this big long, therapy session that kind of goes up in the blaze for sure. I mean, it follows the story of Clayton, who is a 30-something-year-old actor trying to make it in the industry. So it's in a lot of ways felt very familiar. But yeah, it's a trip, man. It's crazy.
In the film, we see the extreme lengths that your character is willing to go to get a role. What's the craziest thing you've done for an audition or in preparation for a part?
Well, as you know, I've done some pretty disturbing things on camera, so I think it's just a lot of weird Google searches, to be honest. I mean, I can't you can only relate so much, so it's just like you have to let your imagination do a lot of the heavy lifting. But yeah, definitely a lot of. Oh, actually, I did on the first pilot I ever booked. There was a scene where I was like mean mugging people coming out of the grocery store, and I remember like driving to the Gelsons in Silver Lake and just like trying to like mean mug people and like that's not me. It was so uncomfortable. I was like, oh, this is what actors do. I'm just gonna be out here just being rude to people and see how they respond. And so that's probably the most, I don't know, method I've gone, but
There's a real groundedness in your performance and the way that you approach Clayton's vulnerabilities and his insecurities. As an actor, how did you create the space for yourself to dive into that journey?
yeah, I mean, I think one step is doing as much research on what the character went through as possible, and then asking yourself a lot of questions. What would I personally, mentally, where would I be if that happened to me emotionally? How would I feel? So, like I said, it was kind of like an introspective therapy session in a lot of ways, but um, and Clayton, obviously, things happen to him that haven't happened to me. So just giving yourself permission to just commit to whatever is happening in that moment. Yeah.
This is such a different role that we've seen you do in the past. Is there a particular scene that you're really excited for your fans to see when this film drops?
There's a few for sure. I think there's a very tender moment that's kind of placed right in the, I guess, towards somewhere in the third act, but that is an emotional exchange between the two characters and almost a release for Clayton, which I think is a very sweet moment that I'm looking forward, because it's in the midst of this chaos of what's happening. So I think it'll be a nice moment, hopefully well deserved.
There's a really interesting dynamic between Clayton and Emil's character. How much of that was improvised? How did the two of you approach that dynamic?
Yeah, dude, Emil is great. He had a lot of ideas for sure, and our director and writer Chris just took them in stride, and they both worked together to fine tune him. And on the day when we were shooting, it was just like for me, it was a lot of reacting. The first scene you see, we're in the hallway. It was just me like actually reacting to someone who would you've met a person like that. You meet that person all the time, and not passing any judgment, but there is a response for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Christopher does such a fantastic job integrating a lot of universal themes in this backdrop of a horror thriller. What was it like getting to collaborate with him as you brought the story to life? And was there a theme that hit home for you?
Yeah, I love Chris Monhouse. I love working with Chris. We're buddies now. We're around the same age, and I had the opportunity to talk to Chris a lot leading up to the film about the character, the story, and also just life in general. Chris is just a great human being. I think just exploring vulnerabilities. I think as a human, as a man, maybe in society, we put up this armor around us to protect us, and we try and act like a certain way to be masculine or whatever. And I think that kind of all comes crumbling down around Clayton in a very positive and yeah, impactful way. So I think that's a theme that definitely has stuck with me.
Great answer. And you've worked on projects of all sizes. What is it about independent filmmaking that excites you as a creative?
I love independent films. I love them because, yeah, it just feels not that the other projects don't carry this weight, but like an independent's like so heavily reliant upon the whole crew showing up and just giving it every ounce they have, because you don't have the luxury of excess money or
Mhm.
excess whatever. It's like, we need to do what we need to do. We need to do it passionately, or else, it's not gonna turn out the way we want to. So like our whole crew was amazing. Our producers from the top down were all just so passionately there that I think it was infectious for sure. Yeah.
And you're making quite a name for yourself in this horror genre. Has your relationship with the genre changed being a part of these different projects?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love the horror genre for sure, and I will happily rest my career in the horror genre. I think it's so much fun. Yeah, there's a lot you can do, and there's a rawness to this genre for sure. Yeah, and blood.
And this is a really exciting time in the industry where we're seeing new voices emerge and they're bringing much needed representation to the forefront. And you're actually writing a script with your brother and a friend of yours about your heritage and growing up biracial. Is there
Yeah,
anything that you can tease about that project and story and why it's so important to you?
growing up half Filipino in America, I think as I've gotten older, I've become far more curious and passionate about my heritage that is part of me, but I can't fully identify. And I think that's kind of this part of the story that we're trying to tell, is that, you know, not every half Filipino or half Asian or half whatever story is the same. It's told through your lens, your experience, your family, where you grew up. So yeah, done in a comedic but full of drama type fashion. So yeah.
Did you find your experience working on untitled horror movies spark that interest in working behind the camera? And have you found the experience producing and writing has impacted the work that you do now on screen? And when can we expect the stash to make a return?
Yeah, dude, I'm working on it right now. Yeah, so Untitled Horror was crazy. As you know, we shot that from the comfort of our own apartments on computers. That was just a wild experience. Turned out super cool. Very proud of it and everyone involved. But yeah, I am half Filipino, so my facial hair is what it is. So I'm letting it go right now, and I'm wondering if you can pick up these. But yeah, the mustache, I would love to bring it back. Maybe play a cop or a
Mm.
cowboy or something.
I got one final question for you. What do you hope audiences take away after they see Devil's Workshop? And then what's next for you?
Yeah, I think, although it's wrapped up in horror and being a psychological thriller, I hope it would challenge them and make them provoke some sort of thought, or question, or, like I said, the ability to explore vulnerabilities, I think is a for sure a theme. So I hope they also walk away saying, what just happened? What just happened? Because that's how I responded when I watched the script for sure. But yeah. What's next? I'm doing a few episodes on a show that I'm not sure if I can fully speak on, but doing that in early October. And then just yeah, next month is Filipino Heritage Month. So hopefully doing some stuff there and representing, and yeah, love to make it back to Michigan at some point in the fall. But yeah, other than that, who knows?